Hello and welcome back to Something Z, and welcome to a new What If, or more specifically, welcome to what if Deku had an anti-Quirk. So we begin when Azuku is in elementary school, and he's being bullied by Bakugo, and Bakugo had Azuku pinned down by holding his face, and he was about to fire an explosion at Azuku, but when he went to fire an explosion, no matter how hard he tried, and when he let go of Azuku, his power came back to him, and shortly after the school day was done, Inko took Azuku to the hospital, and there they found out about Azuku's quirk, which the doctors later came back with the name Negative. So let me explain what the quirk is. So basically, Azuku's body emits an aura, or energy, that with physical contact with an item can block the activity of a quirk. And the longer Azuku puts energy into an item, the longer the quirk will be deactivated. For example, if Azuku held onto someone's wrist, it could deactivate their quirk. So can he if he had his energy infused in darts, and he got the darts in someone else's body. The more energy in the dart, the longer the person will be quirkless. So from that point on, Azuku and Bakugo's relationship has been more of a rivalry than an actual friendship. They don't hate each other, but they wouldn't consider each other friends. So we skip to the beginning of the story, and the teacher asked the class what they want to do for high school. And when he asked who wants to join the hero course, Bakugo talked about how everyone is too weak to be even close to him. But when he said that, there were some people in the class who just said Azuku's name. Since Azuku's quirk worked with touch, he needed to be not just mentally strong, but physical as well. So he looks the same as he did before the UA entrance exams. So he is stronger. And after Bakugo hears them, he just continues on and talks about how he's stronger than Azuku. So we skip to the end of the day, and Azuku stayed behind since he wanted to write down some hero notes. And right before he was about to leave, Bakugo walked into the room with his friends, who then tried to grab his notebook, but then Azuku grabbed onto his wrist. Then he put his notebook into his bag, and with a smile on his face, Azuku walked out of the classroom, not trying to start anything. He then continues walking until he gets to a bridge, and while he was walking under the bridge, a sewer grate nearby starts to shake, and a second later, a giant sludge with a face comes out of the sewer, who then traps Azuku into himself. But since it was a mutation type quirk, Azuku's quirk didn't affect him. And right before he was about to pass out, a giant person comes out of the sewer as well, and he punches the sludge, and with one punch, the sludge gets blown away, and Azuku was freed. But a second later, he passed out, and when Azuku woke up, the first thing he saw was All Might standing right above him, which made Azuku freak out, and he wanted All Might to sign his notebook. But when Azuku opened his notebook to look for a clean page, he saw that All Might already signed it. So when he saw it, he said thank you, and went to shake All Might's hand. But when All Might grabbed Azuku's hand, All Might's power started to be deactivated, so smoke started to shoot out from his body. And before All Might could escape, he went into his Small Might form, which freaked Azuku out. It's then that he learned about All Might's secret. And after All Might told Azuku about his secret, he asked Azuku what his quirk is. And when they're done talking, they leave, so Azuku continues to walk home, and All Might goes to turn into Sludge Villain. And so for the months of what would have been Azuku training to inherit One for All, is now Azuku doing some physical training to become stronger and more flexible, and how to control his quirk to a greater extent. So we skip to the day of the entrance exams. And when he was at the front gates, he tripped. But before his face hit the ground, he felt someone's hand touch his back. And when the hand touched him, he started to float. So when he stopped moving, a girl with brown hair adjusted him. So now he's back on his feet. Then Azuku said thank you. Then they had some small talk about how nerve-wracking the entrance exam is. Then the brown-haired girl walked into the entrance exam hall. And shortly after, Azuku walked in as well. And when the exam hall got filled, President Mike told all the examinees the events that will happen and what the rules are for each thing were. So we skip an hour or two, and Azuku finished taking the written part of the exams. And he and everyone else that passed the written exams are currently standing outside the exam area for the next test. So eventually Mike, standing on a large tower, starts a countdown for the test to begin, and when he reaches 0, the gates open, and all of the examinees run through it, with Azuku somewhere in the middle of the crowd. And by the end of the test, Azuku has 30 points, from Azuku using some robot's arm to break the other robots. So with 5 minutes left, the examiners released the 0-pointer, and when it was released, people around the area started to run, and Azuku was about to do the same thing, but before he got too far, he heard someone yell in pain, and when he turned his head, he saw the person that saved him from falling earlier. So when Azuku saw her, he ran back to save her, and he was barely able to lift the rubble off of her in time before the robot walked on them. And a bit after the two got away, the test ended, and days later, Zuku got his results by letter, and with the help of both his robot points and his rescue points, they allowed him to pass the test and get into UA. So he skipped to the first day of UA, and when Azuku got to the doors of Class 1A, the first people he saw was Bakugo and some random person arguing about Bakugo putting his feet on the desk. But before he could sit down, the brown-haired girl that he saved appeared right behind him, and after the two talked for a bit, someone appears behind them, and from what Azuku saw, it was some guy in a sleeping bag, who then got up and told everyone everyone that he is their teacher and to put on their gym uniforms. And when everyone was done changing, they met in a field outside of the school. And shortly after everyone got there, Aizawa told them the rules for his test, and that the person that comes in last place will be expelled, since here they teach the best of the best. So to skip some time, I'll tell you that the results of everyone will be around the same. Since Azuku is only as strong as a normal person, he comes in last place. But since Zuku has such an interesting quirk to Aizawa, he tells the class that the expelling part of the exams was actually a logical deception. Hours later, it's the end of the school day. And while Zuko was walking to the gate, Ida and Ochako appeared behind him, and they actually introduced themselves to each other. And after the introductions, they walked to the train station together. So we skipped to the next day, and when it's time for their hero class, they were expecting a racer to walk through the doors. But the person that appeared instead was All Might, who then told them to go put on their hero costume and meet him at Ground B. So now it's time for me to explain Zuku's hero costume. It's the same basic design, but the color of the suit is mainly black, with red lines. And now in his pouch, he contains multiple blow darts and throwable needles. He also has a holder on his belt for a small blowgun, and on his back he has a pouch for a plain wooden bat. So we skipped it when everyone gets to Ground B, and when everyone got there, All Might explained the rules of the Heroes vs Villains exercise, and the teams will be the exact same. So when Azuku and Ochako are coming up with a plan right before the exercise, Azuku put some of his energy into a needle, and right before the test began, Azuku gave her that needle. So if she needed to stop her opponent's quirk for a bit, she could. And when the exercise was about to begin, All Might started the countdown. When he reached 0, Azuku and Ochako ran into the building, and after some time running around, they come face to face with Bakugo, who when they turned a corner, launched an explosion at the two, and it burned Azuku's mouth when Azuku pushed Ochako out of the way. And when the smoke cleared, Azuku told Ochako to go, which she did. And when she started to run down the corridor past Bakugo, he tried to fire an explosion at her. But Azuku, before he launched the explosion, grabbed onto both of his arms, and he used his quirk, so now Bakugo is currently quirkless. But after a bit of time, Bakugo was able to get out of Azuku's grasp. But from Azuku's quirk, Bakugo's quirk will be gone for around a minute. So the two fight with them going back and forth. But since the two kept punching and kicking each other, Zuku used his quirk to make Bakugo quirkless for a couple of seconds longer every attack. And after a couple of minutes, All Might comes on the speaker and says that the hero team won. While Zuku and Bakugo were fighting, Ochako found Ida in the bomb, and Ida didn't truly know about Zuku's quirk, so he didn't know that when the needle touched him, it would make him unable to use his engines. And Ochako was able to get to the bomb before Ida. And that's where I'm going to leave the what if. I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry if you didn't like it. And if you're confused about anything about the what if, just tell me in the comments, and I'll try my best to respond to them. And I hope to see you next time on Something Z.